Hello, hello, hello. This is Latonia Y. with A Woman's Soul Restored podcast coming to you with season 5, episode 19. We are stream rolling right along. And this week, we're doing something that we haven't done since we've been on the viewing audience. We have email week. Yay! This is one of the highly requested episodes where I pull emails, and I only have two for this week that I pulled because I want to keep this episode kind of short because we're running behind. Um, this is actually a Monday that I'm recording. So happy MLK Day to each of you that's celebrating. Um, to God be the glory for whatever state we're in, we're still here. Not state locally, but state physically. We're still here. So I have two emails today. And before we get started, I want to say I'm back on my lock journey. I had locks some years ago. They were very long, and I ended up cutting them and started over probably about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. I cut them because I have this condition where I can't really be doing all that to be because I usually do my own hair, even with the braids I had. But under the braids, my hair was locking. So why not? It is I got some length to them. I think I'm just gonna be curling them or whatever until they grow longer. But I got some length now. So let's see the length. And my hair is healthy. I make my own products and I use my own products. So my hair is healthy. I'm just gonna let it grow and we'll go from there. But we're ready to get started with email week. I have two here this week. My neighbor, I had a one of my big sisters usually do my printing for me because I've been out of ink for a while here. Um, is what it is. But I had to do these under the emergency circumstances. Both Tamara and Patricia are ill. I ask that you all be in prayer with me with both of them um, as they are going through this process of not feeling well. So my well wishes and prayers to my co-host as they're going through their situations. I ask that you all be in prayer with me. But I wasn't gonna do anything, but here we are. And this will only be for the YouTube audience. I have an episode that kinda got messed up and didn't go on both platforms because we have streaming with, Spotify and Apple and all of that, and that's our key audience, but when I was doing the episode with Apostle and, Prophet, I somehow deleted the episode for the streaming, but it was on here. So that's the episode that's running on the streaming platforms for this week. And then I'm doing the email episode for here. And maybe a couple of weeks down the line, because we got some guests coming up. And then we have, well, me and my co-host got to do 1 or 2 episodes as well. And then maybe somewhere, probably April, we'll do an email week. But this one, let me read the first one. All right. So get ready. I'm not, because of YouTube, I can't say explicits, but um, let's get into it. She says, "Hello, Miss Latanya Y. Hendry. I am emailing you because I don't have my contacts in, so I'm trying to read. I'm emailing you because I need help with an emotional situation that I am going through. My sister was, and I have to use the word unalived, the first part of last year, actually the day after New Year's. And my family is finding it very hard to get a sense of normalcy because she was murdered by, and I'm not going to say the relation, but it's a family member. This is hard. We are hurting in every aspect. And at this point, I don't know which way to go. I want to help my family, but I don't know which way to go myself. I was hesitant about reaching out, but I know that you have helped others throughout the years. I don't know what you can do for me, but I am reaching out because my family is truly hurting and I am hurting too. I miss her so much. She was a joy and a light to all that knew her, and I have her two children. So, because of the sensitivity of this, I'm not going to say her location, but I will say her name. It's T. Robinson. The first name, first initial starts with T, and her last name is Robinson. Because I don't want ever, and I've said this before when I do the email episodes, I don't want anybody ever reaching out to these people that send emails or try to, I don't know, look them up for whatever reason. Because you say, why would somebody do that? People do some strange things. So, Miss Robinson, first of all, you have and I know it's been over a year, but you have our love, our prayers, our condolences as you and your family go through this process. Now, I've never had anyone murdered like that in my family. Um, Everybody that watches this podcast know that we are faith based. I'm a minister. I love the Lord first and foremost. And to the reality of it is we have some evil people in this world because I emailed her separately after that just to make sure it would be okay to read her email. Um, and she said it would be, but I told her that I would protect her um, identity. I would not read her full name or her location, period. Because people have a way, we're very canny with these technologies. We know how to put stuff in and find people. They don't want that kind of attention, and I understand. And I'm helping from a spiritual aspect because God is a healer. He can heal our heart. And I'm taking her on as somebody to counsel because she says she was open to spiritual counseling. And that's mainly the counseling that I do. Um, I could not imagine going through anything like what her and her family are going through at this time. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And it seems redundant to say that God is a healer of all things, but He is. He is a healer, He is a restorer, He's a keeper. He's our mother to the motherless, He's the father to the fatherless. He's the husband or wife to the widower. Whatever we need Him to be, that's what we'll be. That healing that needs to come from within, because there's nothing physical to them or their bodies. They're grieving the loss of a loved one and grieving the loss of how she was unalived from here. That's hard and it's difficult. And that's why I asked her because I know we've had guests on here that would be able to counsel her in another way that's not spiritual. But she said she wanted spiritual counseling. So I'm going to make this overall to say that if you have lost a loved one due to violence, and we do hear it all the time with family members, with husbands, with boyfriends, with wives, with girlfriends, children. We just had an incident in the news with a son of an actor that killed his mother and father, well-known actor. And because of copyrights, I'm not going to say his name, but we all read that story probably about 3 weeks ago. I don't think it's been a month yet. But this son that now has been revealed has a history of mental illness, unalived his mother and father. Very sad situation. But it hurts different when it's a family member that does something. Um, as we could tell from the email with her and after emailing back and forth with her. and we have a session set up um, next week to do a phone session and video, whatever, however she wants to do, however I can help her. That's what I'm going to do. But we've been really um, emailing back and forth to because I need to know more than what was just said in the email. And I'm not going to get into the confidentiality of our conversation, but I just wanted to know from her, would it be okay if I read her email and go over this situation that seems to be happening all throughout our nation? Of it's almost the amount of family that's unaliving someone than strangers, and it's sad because we look to our family for love and support and that foundational that we need. Just to know that somebody that's close to you could be somebody you grew up with, could be somebody you look up to in your family, could be somebody that, you just know y'all family, but y'all don't really know each other like that. But it's still family. And to the point of that, it's really that's where it hurts deeper. That it hurts when, first of all, let me clarify, it hurts when we lose a family member outright. It hurts when we lose a family member by the hands of a stranger or accident or something like that. But the ultimate is to have another family member unalive, a family member. So my advice to her, and she said her family is they're saved, they're believers, but it's just hard right now for them and for her particularly. She's having a really hard time. But my suggestion to her and what I would help her with is through prayer, through meditation, through helping her reach the Father for herself. I can't do it for her, but I can help her and I can pray with her and pray for her. And I'm asking you all to do the same. No, you don't have to know her name to pray for somebody. I pray for people all the time and don't know them. I could see stories on Facebook and pray for the person who whatever they posted about. So it's not essential that you know a person, the whole name, gotta know who you're talking about. Just say some words to the Lord for her and her family as they go through this horrific crime and the grieving process and what all that entails because she has her the little ones. She's raising them. In that in itself is enough to pull on you mentally because you look at these children and it's a reflection of the family member. Whether it be a certain way they may look at you, their actions, that DNA goes down. So it'll be things to where they're going to be reminders. So we pray for her children as well. It's horrible when a mother is taken away from her children. And we see that a lot too, um, even right here locally in Savannah. But I wanted her to know that God loves her and that even in this, it's hard to see him, but he is there. He is a present help in time of trouble. And this is trouble, inward trouble, emotional trouble, spiritual trouble, because it would have you questioning God. Like, why would this happen? And in emailing with her, and even in this email, she said that her loved one was a beautiful person inside and out. When somebody sweet, when somebody's nice, when somebody, you just wonder why and you may start to question. So that's what I'll be helping her with really finding her way to not understanding what's going on, but trusting God in this process of healing for her and her family, particularly for her since she has the children. But in general, because I'm sure she had coworkers, she had friends, just people that loved her and are feeling that she's missing, that her spirit is no longer with us. So um, that's how I'll be helping her with the unaliving of her family member and just helping her go through the process of realizing what has happened, trusting God in the process of healing and helping her raise her loved one's children. So that was T. Robinson. Just keep Miss Robinson and her family members in prayer as they go through the grieving process of losing a loved one a year ago. And this is like an anniversary. So very difficult. Just to be thinking a couple of days before whatever she may have been doing with the family. All those memories come back when you lose someone, um, especially if it's around a holiday that that loved one was unalive. So our hearts go out to you, our love and our prayers. And once again, condolences as well go out to you and your family. Um, our second one, it says, "Hello, Ms. Latonia. I have followed your podcast for a long time now, and I've even went back and listened to some of the episodes that you have done previously because I started listening around 2 years ago. I didn't wanna send this email," and she has that in all caps, so she really didn't wanna send this email. "But I see that you are empathetic. I've seen you cry. I cry a lot sometimes on here. And that helps me to see that you're somebody that may be able to help me with what I'm going through. I have read about your background. I had gotten your first book. I haven't gotten the rest, but the first one drew me in. I want to know about issues that men have that may have want them. I want to know about issues that men have that will drive them to put their hands on a woman. I want to know what would give them to right to feel that they can do that. And I guess she was typing kind of fast. Um, but I need to understand the mentality because your book says issues of the male heart when his issues become your issues. Please help me to understand because I am going through that right now. It is okay to read my email. Please message me back when you can. Affectionately yours, Nita B. And she's from upstate. So, first of all, Anita, I need you to get out that situation. That one hit close to home because I know my streamers know that I'm a domestic violence survivor. And I haven't talked about that a lot on YouTube. And since this is only for YouTube this week, um, I went through domestic violence twice. Once with my daughter's father when I had my daughter at 16 and she's been on this podcast a few episodes back. I think it was episode 12 if I'm not mistaken. But with her father who's now deceased, we had a very tumultuous relationship and he was very jealous. We were young, we were parents. I was 16, he was 18, and he kind of felt in a way that I stopped him from his goals because he wanted to go in the military. I wanted to go in the military. That's something we wanted to do together. He was 2 years ahead of me, so he would have been gone first. But we were not taking precautions, not being safe, using protection, and, I got pregnant. My daughter is now 41 years old, and this is telling you how long that was ago, but and before he passed when she was 14. We had built a rapport with one another, almost like brother and sister. Because when, I didn't have a place to go. When I came here to Savannah at 14, I got pregnant at 16. My older sister put me out, and his family took me in. So it's kinda like we grew together, through our teenage years. But domestic violence is horrible. It takes a toll on you physically, emotionally, mentally. It batters more than just your body. So I'm pleading with you. And I do email most people that some people just want advice email back to them. Some want you just to read the email. Some say read it on if you do email week. But some people, they don't know what they want. And this was one of the particular emailers that just she said reach out, and I did reach out because she sent this October let me see, October 9th. So I've been trying to reach out since October 9th, and I have not gotten anything back. But I do want you to get out of there because you say you watch, you're listening, you appreciate how I've helped people, you appreciate my story, but disregard all that if you're in danger. Because if somebody's putting their hands on you, you don't know what realms they're gonna go to keep you. She didn't say whether she had children or anything, but even if you don't have children, you need to get out of there. You need to leave and leave in a way where he's not knowing that you're leaving. Because when I left my daughter's father when I was 19, she was 3, so probably 19. He came home early and caught me trying to leave. And let's just say it didn't end well for both of us. And it's in the book that I talked about, um, that she mentioned in her email. It's good reading, but it's true life. It's true life. Um, but those memories, some of those scars are still there, even at the age of 58, mentally. Took me years to trust men, took me years to stop fighting inwardly with myself because I ended up marrying my first husband was an abuser. Um, very, very horrible relationship. Very horrible relationship. And that's discussed in the second book, A Window Without a View. Um, how I lived through his abuse and also the memories of something that happened to me as a child that I didn't know it was me until later on in my adult life. But domestic violence is a horrible epidemic, and that's what this podcast was founded on. Um, on that second book because it didn't sell that well. The first one knocked it out the park because it had real life and it had some of the funny aspects of my life. It was a good book, and I'm not just saying it because I wrote it, but it was a good book. But the second one got into some stuff that was hard to read, and it had sold 50 copies at 52, I think, at that point. When it got into one of those 52 people was the right person because it was a lady from Web Talk Radio. And they reached out to me and asked me, had I ever thought about doing a podcast? And I was like, well, no, I hadn't. Now I had interviewed people. I had a Facebook live thing that I did called, and that's what the website is called, Live Life Now, Love Life Now. And I did that via Facebook Live, and I also did it via conference call. So I already was doing the interview process, but I just had not um, gone that step to do a podcast, didn't even think about it. But after they presented it to me and presented to me in a way where they would discount it and I wouldn't have to pay the rate that now I had to pay something, but it wasn't near the rate that, I normally would have had to pay. I said, well, let me pray on it. And the Lord give me the yes to go ahead and do it. So we started off really slow. I mean, I did I did commentary and I was uncomfortable because it was something new. Then I started interviewing people local that I knew that that would talk to me. Because I know a lot of people. I've networked in various genres. So I had different people locally to come on here in Savannah, and I would have to go to them most of the time because we wasn't into the technology. I would go to them, record the interview, not video, but audio. then send it to Web Talk, and then they would edit and do whatever need to be done with it. And it blew up. It blew up fast. That's why we have a big streaming audience, because through the years it's been kind of up and down, with me not being consistent with things going on. Life, as the young people say, life be life, and sometimes. So sometimes I had gaps in the episodes. And at one time, it was such a big gap that I lost a big percentage of my audience. But I'm thankful that we are growing it back almost to where it was. We still got a ways to go, but we're growing it back. Um, and growing on this platform on YouTube. But domestic violence, and after going through that, because I got married at 32, 33, 32, 33, and my husband was 36. And almost from, I mean, we had instances of heated arguments, but the heated arguments after we got married turned physical almost immediately, and cheating and drugs and stealing my money, and just the gamut of everything that goes into domestic violence. And that last situation um, ended up with me with some bruised ribs, but that was the last situation. And even afterwards, he was leaving some things on my door, some stuff that I would rather not discuss, but it was almost satanic stuff, kind of creepy. Um, Eventually, it stopped. He moved on with his life, and I moved on with mine. I think I moved on a little too quickly, but I did move on. And this has been, we got married in 1996, got divorced in 1999. And ever since then, I have been advocating for domestic violence and helping women get out of situations, telling my story, hoping to be able to help others in their journey of getting out. And that's why I'm telling you to get out. And any woman that's in that situation, it's not going to end well. You may think you're okay. You may think, okay, it's just I do something to make him upset. I do something to cause him to react the way he does. Or even if you don't feel you're at fault, you're going to think that he's going to change. It's not going to change. I lost my mother to domestic violence at the hands of my father. You know, it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change. Don't let your life be a statistic because you're hoping that this man changes. You're hoping that everything ends up being all right because you love him so much. But if he loved you so much, he wouldn't be putting his hands on you. And I'm not saying this just for women being battered. We have men that's um, victims of domestic violence, but the numbers overwhelmingly show that women are victims. And if that woman has a children or a child, her children are victims of domestic violence. So sometimes people don't want to hear the truth. Maybe in that moment of emailing, she thought that that's what she wanted to hear. But in following me, I've always advocated to leave, whether you're married or not. Now, I know as a minister, we're supposed to help keep marriages together. You're not supposed to help that woman leave that man, but I'd rather help her leave him than to read about her in the paper not being here anymore, or to see an article online about her being gone. I'd rather her leave and help her life than to tell her to stay and end her life. So if that's going to affect people that email in, I'm sorry. I've said that was my standpoint before, and I will continue to say it. My journey and my purpose is not to help somebody stay in domestic violence, hoping that that person stops. My purpose is to help a woman or a man to see that it's not going to stop. If they have, now, if we have a one time incident, even in that, I would say watch out and be careful. But if you have a one-time incident, you know that's not that person's character, and they haven't done it, then yeah, give them a chance. I had a one-time incident with my husband. That was not his character. It has not happened again. He was remorseful and sorry and told my family he did not mean to do that. And yeah, it didn't happen again because something was going on in the dynamic. It wasn't him. And that's a story for another day. But just be mindful if somebody answer to you getting on their nerve, or you talking to somebody too long, or you've been gone too long, is to verbally or physically abuse you, point blank. We can't be so apt to forgive things if it's repetitive, if it's a behavior. If it's repetitive, it is a behavior. That's that person. So if that's them and they don't see as anything wrong with them, they are not going to change. Because even if God comes in them and try, he's not going to force himself on them. God doesn't force anything on us, first of all. Because if that's your behavior, and you don't see anything wrong, then you're not praying for God to change you. And if you're not praying for God to change you, he's not going to change you because he can't. He can't go in when he's not invited. But if somebody's putting in the work, if they see they got a problem, they're going to counseling, they're working on themselves, they're trying to be the best them that they can be. I'm borderline with that too. They're going to have to stop. They're going to have to stop, even if y'all have to separate for a while they go through that counseling. So if you're listening, or to anybody else that's going through a domestic violence situation, and domestic violence is more than just hitting. Domestic violence could be they having control of your money. They having control of your time. They don't let you do anything. You can't go anywhere. No, they're not putting their hands on you, but it's other ways of control that they're trying to make you do what they want you to do, or threatening that they're going to leave or they're going to hurt themselves, or putting you in a situation where you feel you must stay. All of that is domestic violence. So if you're listening, or if anyone's listening and you're in that situation, please get out. Please, if that person's not trying to change and don't see that anything is wrong, and all they do is tell you that they're sorry afterwards, and they may buy you a gift or something. Sometimes they don't even do that. They just tell you that they're sorry. If you're in that kind of situation, you need to get out, and get out as soon as you can. Find your way out of there and leave, because it's not going to end well. You're either going to end up so emotionally fragile that you're mentally gone in a hospital somewhere, or unalived. It's just that simple. And there's no other way to break it down to make it realistic that domestic violence is what it is, violence. And it may not be, like I said, it may not be that your eye is black or your lip is protruding because somebody boxed you in it. But I'm a real person. I deal in reality. I deal with the realm of, sometimes you have to scare people to let them know this is real, to how much you love this person. You have to love yourself more. This email really touched me, and the fact that I couldn't, she's not responding. Maybe she did get out. Maybe she's gotten out and this is not her situation anymore. But I wanted to read this one because this one affects, even though it's from October. But I started because it stood out that when I did email week, I wanted to do it because this podcast was built. The foundation of who a woman's soul restored is, my soul was restored from domestic violence and ab- abuse as a child. I was restored. So when they was throwing up names to what to call it, and the producer, she gave me about 6 names, and I saw that a woman's soul restored, and I was like, that's it, because God restored me. He healed me from all I had been through. So 5 years later, here we are. Here we are. The subjects that people don't want to talk about. It's being talked about more now. But then it wasn't talked about. Nobody was talking about on a podcast about domestic violence. Nobody was talking about the impact that it has not only on that victim, but if she has children, her children, and sometimes her family, her village sees what this is doing to her before she sees it. So it's important that we understand the narrative, that domestic violence is not nothing to play with. It's not just for the month of October. And I'm just getting that now. She wrote that in October, and that's Domestic Violence Month, along with breast cancer awareness and a gamut of other things. But she wrote this in October. Lord. So I pray she's okay and that she's opened her eyes. And because now I'm thinking about it, and I know the state she's in. I could reach out and you could reach out to any authority, doesn't have to be local, and find out about a person. So that's what I'm gonna do when I end this. Um, and if she just didn't want to email back, that's fine. But I just need to know she okay. If they don't have any reports or anything like that from anybody with that name, then I know she just didn't want to be, she wrote it in the moment and then couldn't retract it, and that's fine. But this is for anybody. My advice is to get out. It's gonna always be to get out. Don't be anybody's punching bag. Don't let anybody control your money. Even if it's his money, it's y'all money because y'all are married. Don't have any financial restraints. Now, if you out there spending somebody's money just to spend it up, then yeah, they need to monitor you and let you know that you can't spend money like this. But if they telling you down to what you could buy at the grocery store, just buy the 4 roll instead of the 12 roll, they looking at the receipt to make sure you didn't buy anything else. And I'm telling you, I've been through that. So it's not beyond the realm of possibilities that the receipt was looked at just to make sure I got what was on the list that he wrote for me from the grocery store. It gets that deep and it gets that serious. And I think this is the first time I've said that. That the and this is from my ex-husband, the abuse was so intense. It was physical and emotional because he had done got in my head. And when somebody gets in your head, it's hard to get them out. He had my heart. I wasn't in love with him, but I loved him. But he was in my head to the point where I was trying to write a book and I'm still trying. It's on a floppy drive. That's how old this was. And I was excited about this story that had came to me that I wanted to write about. Not nobody gave me, but the story just popped into my head about, um, well, I'm not gonna say what it's about, but I was sitting to because we had the big computers then, y'all remember, take up the whole space, and I was just typing away, and he was like, "What you doing?" And I said, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna get it done because I've always written poetry and that type of stuff, but I was gonna, and this was in '98 because we got divorced in '99. In '98, I was so serious about getting into writing this book. And he said, and I'll never forget those words. He said, I don't know what the F you doing that for because ain't nobody gonna read nothing you do. And I was so emotionally broken anyway until when he said that, I didn't even finish it. It's on the floppy disk, and it took me, I had lost it. It was so long ago, I had forgotten where I kept up with it through the years. Even through moving and different things, I had put it up so good, I didn't remember where I put it. But I saved it on the floppy disk, and I said, "Well, maybe one day he'll believe in me where I'll be able to do it." And that's sad when I said, "He'll believe in me," not knowing that the next year we were gonna be divorced, and I would be free. But I didn't even know I wasn't free. I just needed permission to do many things. And a lot of stuff I'm sharing I didn't put in that first book because it was still in me that nobody's gonna read what you write. Nobody's gonna read it, so why the F you trying to write something? And I don't curse, so I'm not gonna say that word. And I know you're able to on YouTube, but I'm not gonna say it because 'cause I'm not a cursor anymore. But he was in my head so bad until I didn't believe in myself that if I did it, and back then everybody and their mama was not writing books. So if I had did it, there's no telling where that book would have went. Now you get lost in the traffic of books, and I'm so thankful that God has showed me grace with my books, that they were able to get through the, millions of books and thousands of authors, might be millions of authors as well. But Don't let anybody beat you down in any way. Serious talk here. Because even years later, I still have the scars of many things that have happened in my life. Still got scars from a rape at 16, and that's how I had my daughter. I have scars on my stomach from being cut with a knife. I have scars in my mind that God has healed me from, so I can sit here and smile and not cry when I tell my story anymore. I want you to be able to come out of this with your story. Whether you write it, whether you tell it, whether you bless somebody with it, whether you give your testimony, your story matters. And you need to be alive to tell it. My mama wasn't alive to tell it. I was 3 years old when she passed. So think of yourself. Think of the impact that you have in whoever life you're in. And let your life matter. Let the love you have for yourself override the love you have for your abuser. And I'm going to leave that right there. If you would like to send an email, send it to a woman soul restored at gmail.com. The website is Live Life Now, lovelifenow.net. And the Facebook page is A Woman Soul Restored. I love you. God loves each of you more. Get out. I see my grandson done peeped his way in here. Get out, get out. Do not stay in that situation. Save yourself, save your sanity, save your life. This is Latonia YaY Hendry with A Woman Soul Restored. You all be blessed.